This is At Home with ADTS, a show that presents topics of interest to older adults, individuals with disabilities, and their caregivers. At Home highlights the services and programs offered by Aging, Disability, and Transit Services of Rockingham County.
Welcome to this edition of At Home with ADTS, a program about supports and services offered by Aging, Disability, and Transit Services of Rockingham County. I'm Asheley Cooper. I'm the Director of Community Outreach and Development here at ADTS. ADTS has been in operation since 1973, and our goal is to assist and link senior adults, people with disabilities, and their families with information, opportunities, and services that promote and enhance the quality of life, as well as working to meet the local transportation needs of Rockingham County residents. We would like to give a special thank you to the United Way of Rockingham County for their long time and generous support of our Meals on Wheels program. United Way of Rockingham County brings together local people to help raise local dollars to meet the local needs, and we thank everyone who's given a contribution over the years. Today, we're going to discuss caring for the caregiver, and our guest is Lisa Levine, who is the Director of Education with the Dementia Alliance of North Carolina. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Ashley. Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Dementia Alliance, and then how Dementia Alliance supports caregivers?
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm the Director of Education, and Dementia Alliance is a nonprofit that helps families of people living with dementia around the state of North Carolina. And we actually say that all the services we provide are based on a foundation of care, which is comfort, assistance, resources, and education. And so we provide care navigation, which is you can call in and get any kind of help that you would need from a social worker, any kind of support, questions, just someone to listen. We provide resource referrals, support groups, education, of course, and respite assistance as well. We're a nonprofit who's been around about 40 years, always trying to help people more in North Carolina so that one day we won't have to.
Yes, I always was told when I started in the workforce that my job is to work myself out of a job.
Yes.
So yes. Absolutely. That's always our goal, especially in the nonprofit world. So before we dive into the importance of caring for yourself as a caregiver, I would like to discuss some of the realities related to caregiving. And I'm sure that you see that and hear that on a regular basis. So why do you think caregiving is so challenging?
Well, not many of us wake up and say, today I'm going to be a caregiver. We don't get a choice. AARP actually just recently put out a study, and they said about 50% of all caregivers did not have a choice, did not actually choose to be a caregiver. And not everybody is made to be a caregiver either. So not all of us, come by it naturally. There are a lot of challenges, unknowns in this. We don't know what to expect. We don't know where to find resources or help. And it can be really, really difficult. Also, depending on what's going on with your loved one, there can be doctor issues, there can be behavioral challenges, medication problems, lots of things that we actually haven't been trained for that we suddenly have to do. We have to learn new skills. We have to, if we're an adult child caring for our parents, we have a lot of role reversals. Not every parent says, I took care of you, now you can take care of me. Most of them, it's the opposite. I took care of you, and that's my job.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I always envision as somebody who's in the field of aging. And my mother and I are very close, and I was like, oh, as she gets older, it's going to be so wonderful. I'm going to take care of her and we're going to go places. And then she had a medical issue that required me to step in as her caregiver. And I quickly realized that was not going to be the case, that I need to shift my focus to, the peace, love, and happiness that I thought caregiving was going to be for me and my mother, to something a little bit more realistic, right? So
Yes.
I also found myself saying to people when they would ask for help that, oh, I got it. And only because I'm in the field, and I know that when I hear caregivers decline assistance, when you can clearly tell that they need it, that they are in the thick of it, and they're going to need some stronger supports. And so I would often say to people, yes, and then I also had to do some acceptance that they wouldn't, of course, love her the same way I did, but that didn't mean they didn't love her, and then
they can take care of her just differently than you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's not worse, it's different.
Yes, absolutely. And then the role reversal was so challenging. Again, I thought, oh, that's going to be so easy. We have a really great give and take. No, it wasn't.
I think it's harder in some cases because you have that close relationship and that mom-daughter relationship, and suddenly you have to be the one giving direction and giving care a lot of times physically too, which you're not used to doing. And it really mixes things up.
It does. It absolutely does. It has changed our relationship. And, it's definitely, I'm very thankful that I had that experience earlier in our relationship instead of towards the end, because it warranted a conversation with my brother that was, I know we all expected I would be the one, but we might need to look a little farther ahead and maybe invest financially in something that might be able to help take care of her. I might be better in more of the information and services role versus the hands-on role. So, and unfortunately, like you said, a lot of people don't intentionally find themselves in that role, and they find themselves in that role during a crisis as well, which just adds another layer and multitude of layers onto a situation that's already complicated or difficult to manage. So that's why a lot of times, that's why I wanted to talk about taking care of yourself, right? As a caregiver. I think it's vitally important that, a lot of times caregivers get to a point and they start asking for help, and then they get the help and they just kind of, what do I do with my time? My life has been caring for this person, and now I'm just going to go home. And so you have to kind of also talk caregivers through that. But why is it so important for caregivers to remember themselves as they take care of other people?
Well, I know you've heard the expression, take your oxygen first. And when you remember air travel before COVID, and they always, when you get in the airplane, tell you to put your oxygen mask on before you put the person you're traveling with. Our instinct is to take care of the other person. But if there's no air to breathe and you put on the other person's mask, you're going to pass out because you don't have any air. The situation is the same. I usually think of it as your energy, or say your gas tank full of energy. And, with our car, we have to refill our gas tank in order to keep going. And it's the same thing with our personal gas tank of energy, is we have to fill it back up, or we can't continue to give. And, as a daughter or a friend or anyone, we're always happy to say, yes, I'll help. Yes, I'll help. Yes, I'll help. Yes, I'll help. And if you do that, you're giving your energy away. And at some point, you have to stoke that fire. You have to refill that gas tank, if you will. It's so important. And if you don't, bad things can happen. So, you can get sick. You can have another crisis come up that you can't handle because you don't have the focus or the attention or the capability. So it's so important not only for us to ask for help, but like you said, be able to accept that help before we get into a problematic situation.
Absolutely. And that's interesting. You said that a lot of negative things can happen if you don't take care of yourself. A lot of times you hear caregivers becoming the second victim to their
Yes.
loved one's disease, right?
Mhm.
And I was trying to look for the statistic, but I heard a statistic once that said that it's more common for caregivers to pass away before the
Mhm.
during the duration of caring for someone before that person who they were caring for passed away.
I
Yeah.
actually looked for a statistic and I found one on spousal caregivers. So when you're taking care of your spouse or your life partner, over 60% of the caregivers pass away before their loved one.
Wow.
And that's scary.
That
That's really
is.
scary. And it's because, you know, three-fourths of us at least don't go to the doctor when we're busy taking other people to the doctor. We're not keeping our appointments because we're busy focusing on the other person's appointments and other person's needs. And what are you going to do if you're in the hospital? You can't take care of your loved one. And so it could be a bad situation for both of you. So we really do have to take time out to care for ourselves, take a moment. You know, we heard a lot about self-care during COVID, and I hope that talk will continue because it is so important when you're giving of yourself and giving of yourself and giving of yourself that you take a little bit. And it's okay to do that. Sometimes we have to give ourselves permission.
And I think that's important. You have to give yourself permission. That doesn't mean that you're not a good caregiver if you take some time for yourself. You know that you wouldn't do that if you were raising children. You always took time. You took time for yourself to go out with your
Mhm.
girlfriends or go play golf with your friends or something like that. That's no different just because you're an adult caregiver of someone who is needing more care. So,
Mhm.
and you mentioned the word self-care. So, what are some ways that caregivers can practice self-care?
Well, self-care really depends on you and what's important to you. So self-care might be exercise. It might be diet related, that we're eating better, but it can be the fun things too. It can be, you know, look back at before you were a caregiver. What did you enjoy? Did you really enjoy going out with your girlfriends? And so even if you can't go out, maybe you can do a Zoom party with them, or you can talk to them on the telephone. We can adapt the things that we used to do for now. There's things like being creative really is great for a lot of people. So journaling or doing artwork, coloring, it doesn't have to be beautiful. You don't have to share it with people, but it just helps you feel better and relax and think about other things for a minute. So you have to think of what recharges your batteries. I'm an animal lover, and so spending time with animals recharges my batteries, makes me feel good. So if I can go out and walk the dog, I am getting exercise and I'm also spending time with the dog, and that can help me feel better and help me relax. So it is very specific to you, but it's very important that you find some things that you can do. And you don't have to do them for an entire day. You know, 5 minutes here and there, 15 minutes here and there are good, but taking breaks is really important, and not taking breaks to go make doctor's appointments, taking breaks to do something for you. It's so important that while we're doing those things, we're very much present. We're very mindful of what we're doing. So if we're going for a walk outside, instead of thinking of all the problems, maybe we can really focus on taking deep breaths and listening to the birds and noticing that the flowers have bloomed in springtime or the leaves have changed in fall. And those kinds of moments that we take for ourselves really can help us feel better.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've also found with working with caregivers that they need part of self-care is managing your expectations, right? Like,
Yes, yes.
I think, as I said, I thought my caregiving would be, we would travel and we would, we would have this great time and all this other kind of stuff. And then I had to really kind of redefine what a good caregiver meant,
Mm,
right? So, I had to really kind of take a step back and give myself permission to do certain things and to take care of myself. So, What are maybe some unrealistic expectations or realistic expectations
Mhm.
that caregivers should have or shouldn't have?
Well, I think we all hold ourselves to a really high standard,
Mhm.
thinking we should all be perfect.
Mhm.
And we are not perfect. We all make mistakes and we learn from those mistakes. And it's
Mhm.
okay to say, oops, I screwed up. Well, I won't do that again. Even if you admit that to the person that you're caring for, that's okay to do. So we need to give ourselves permission to not be perfect. We have to let go of a lot of the guilt that comes with caregiving. I'm not doing enough. I saw somebody else do it this way. In that training class, I learned that you're not supposed to say these things, and I just said all of them. You have to give yourself a little freedom there and let go of some of that guilt. Also, we have to understand that the way someone else gives care is usually all right too, even if it's not the exact way that we do it.
Mhm.
Sometimes people don't want to invite a caregiver into their home, or they don't even want to have their loved one be with another family member for a little while because you don't do it just like me and you'll upset him. The person that I'm caring for. Sometimes it's nice for that person that you're caring for to be away from you.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes.
we weren't intended to be together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's just not normal for us as humans. And in COVID times, that has been a little bit different. We've had to be at home together, but we've had to take breaks, and we still have to do that now. So it's okay to step away, to give yourself permission to manage those expectations. It's great to go to a support group and learn that you're not the only one who's having these issues, and to have other people go, oh yeah, we did that too, and you can laugh about it. There's
Mhm.
times when you can laugh even if other people wouldn't understand your humor. You
Mhm.
can laugh about those things, and you have to not take it so seriously sometimes, even in those really difficult, serious situations, which is hard to do,
It
but
is hard to
important.
do. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. And I agree. You talk about the guilt. You have to be really careful with guilt because that can lead to resentment. That can lead to feeling burdened.
Mhm.
And in which case can sometimes trickle out to the person that you're caring for.
Yes.
And again, can kind of stop the progress of caregiving. So that's why I think it's so important for caregivers to remember to take care of themselves. Or if you're feeling that way, that it's to honor that and to talk about that. And then how to handle it. Don't just kind of
Mhm.
keep putting it down. I also find that also self-care is maintaining communication with your friends and
Yes.
other people. Sometimes it's nice to have somebody who's not at all involved in what's going on to talk to you because they just a listening ear is really nice.
Mhm.
I had a friend call me the other night. She's like, I just need to talk. I was like, no problem. Sure.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. It's like, don't say anything, just listen. I was like, no problem. I will offer no advice on how to fix your problem. So, but it's also though okay to ask for help and to seek out support. I know in a previous episode we talked about the value of support groups and the value of education. But again, you need to know that it's recognize when it's time. Often when I deal with care or interact with caregivers, by the time they've gotten to me, they're just so tired and worn out.
Mhm.
And then, they're ready to place the person and they're just done. and
Yes.
I get
Yes.
and I get that. And so that's why I help caregivers at any point in their journey, but I always like to find the ones who are a little earlier into it so that way we can set them up for positive experiences.
Right.
Right. Um,
It's never too late to make plans, though. So, no matter where somebody is in that caregiving journey, it's never too late to go, oh, maybe I need to do a little bit better for myself, and that's
mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
Or to make some plans so that when the next crisis happens, it's not such a crisis because we're ready for it. And then you don't feel so exhausted and tired because you already know what's going to happen.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you have any other tips or tricks for caregivers who need to work on their self-care?
I have a couple that I've learned from caregivers. So I
Okay.
have some that have actually scheduled time for self-care on their calendar. They've
Oh.
made an appointment with their self, so to speak, that they will, for this hour on this day, go and do something. And then they have to learn to really do it, to not ignore that appointment. Sometimes caregivers can get assistance with respite, and that's where somebody can come in and provide help with caring for their loved one so they can actually take time. And if you can schedule a time when that's going to happen, even if that's a family friend coming in and being with your loved one during lunch, so you can be out of the house for an hour, schedule that. So that you actually do it. And then another one is from someone who had a really hard time asking for help. And so in her house, her family got her a whiteboard that you can write on with markers. And she put things on it like the trash goes to the curb on Tuesday night. The trash comes back on Wednesday afternoon. The yard needs to be raked. Just little household things like that. And so when anyone was visiting her, they could see what needed to be done and do it without her having to ask.
Mm.
And so that was a really easier way for her to be able to accept help.
Mm.
So even if you can't accept help or you're so overwhelmed you don't know what you need, sometimes that's what it is. Someone says, "What can I do?" You don't know. Make a short list of even the smallest things that need to get done, not necessarily by someone else, just all the things that need to get done. And then you can pick those things out. I have some friends I would never ask to fold my laundry, and I have others I wouldn't mind if they folded my laundry. So I might ask one to help me fold my laundry, and I might ask another to come and have lunch with my loved one so that I can take a little bit of a break. And then I have another one that I would call and say, "Just listen. I just need you to listen." So it's important to sort of find those tasks. And other people want to help you. It makes them feel good. So you're making someone else feel good when you accept help.
Yes, absolutely. I often find that people want to help, they just don't know how.
Mhm.
So that's a great idea. That's an excellent idea.
Mhm.
If someone would like to reach you, how would they contact you?
Well, we do have a website. It's dementianc.org, and they're welcome to go on there. There's so much education, support, information, resources. It's a great place to start, and they can contact us through the website if they want, or they can just call us 919-832-3732. And we have care navigators here, social workers that are standing by just to talk to people and help them get through it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lisa. That's all the
Thank you,
time we have
Ashley.
for today. Look forward to having you back for sure.
Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for watching, and we hope that you found this information beneficial and informational. For more information on the programs and services offered through ADTS, you can visit our website, which is adtsrc.org, our initials, or you can always give us a call at 336-349-2343. We thank you again for joining us today, and remember that ADTS is here to help you and your family to age with dignity and independence in your home and in your community. Thank you and have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to At Home with ADTS. For over 45 years, Aging, Disability, and Transit Services of Rockingham County has focused on enhancing quality of life for individuals by empowering them to achieve optimum health and well-being, independence, and participation in community. To learn more about community-based services, resources, or how to help, visit adtsrc.org or call 336-349-2343.